Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Content Kettle. This is Vanhishikha, and I have Madhav, the head of product marketing at Close.io, with me today. Welcome, Madhav.
Thanks, Vanhishikha. Great to be here.
For those of us who aren't quite clued up, what does Close.io do?
Close.io is a CRM built for salespeople. It's focused on doubling a salesperson's productivity. So the software is 100% focused towards closing the damn deal.
Mm-hmm. And when we say that you have to explain the product to your target market, because it's quite a lot, it's sales and in a way also marketing. How big a part is content marketing for you?
It is pretty big. To be honest, like our entire thing, like all of the customers that we get are 100% inbound, and it's been largely driven through, content marketing itself. So I probably can't give a exact percentage, but I'd say about a good 70-80% of it comes in through content marketing.
Oh, great. So there are a lot of marketers out there, who when I speak to, they say that the companies they're working with, they're not quite comfortable using content marketing as their go-to tactic for growth. The reason they state is that it takes way too long. Was it absolutely natural for you guys to opt for content marketing, or was there initial some skepticism around it?
I mean, there's a big story behind it. It does take long, the whole content marketing. It's a long game that you need to be invested in. But I think in this day and age, a lot of people are already aware that content marketing works. And yeah, so for us, it was just like Stelly, who's the CEO of Close.io, he basically he had a sales business where they used to consult a lot of companies on sales, and through that Stelly had built a big personal brand, and then Close.io came in, and he was just the team was just very involved in explaining, giving as much value as they could and consistently. Like, I don't think we've ever skipped a week without publishing a post. So that continued on for 5.5 years now and still going strong.
So you've been using content marketing for almost 5 odd years, roughly.
Yeah, probably even more than that.
Oh, wow. And what goals has it really helped you achieve? Brand awareness, lead gen, or was it just, establishing authority in your niche?
It's definitely the authority part is the big one. The thing with content marketing is that you could, there are lots of results that you could get out of it based on the nature of your business. So, for example, for us, the average lead is, quite like the average lead value is quite high. So for us, the marketing team works with the sales and success team. So for us, it's mostly driving people to request a demo, and then they basically go on to the sales team. So yeah, I mean, that's how it works. But like for, let's say, other companies, like the previous companies that I've worked with, some of them had a pretty self-serve model. So in those cases it made more sense to kind of just monitor the exact trials that are coming in. They just go through the onboarding process and become customers. Yeah.
So is it safe to say that right now content is serving as a conversation starter, but previously it's also served other purposes like almost direct conversions?
Yeah, it's in fact it definitely does contribute right now to direct conversions as well. So I'd say both conversion, conversation starter as well as direct conversions.
Okay. So you mentioned that you use two different kind of strategies technically for Close.io and the companies that you worked with previously. But
Yeah.
then there's one thing that most of us content marketers, including me, we falter with. That's the content strategy. Was that the case for you too? Did you have to pivot the strategy in between, or was there a secret sauce that you eventually did put in and it suddenly just worked for you?
I mean, the whole core thing about then, when you look at content marketing strategies in any business, it's really, you know, it's all about, you got to be consistent. So you can't be like, you create one great piece a year and then 3 years go by without publishing a single thing. It's got to be like a once every month, once every week, or once every year. And then the second thing is, obviously, the better you understand the space, the more ideas you come in. So for us, it's always been like, I wouldn't say it started out as um, as a as a well crafted content machine that, hey, you're gonna have 3 ideas every week. It was literally like creating a pipeline like into the future and then scheduling them uh, across regular intervals. The way I look at it, from a content engine, it's just like this: that anytime you get a great idea, you just record it as a voice note or a or a note or anything, just add that. And then over time, you'd probably have a list of 400, 500 ideas. I have that on my personal blog as well. And then later on, you can expand into it as you've got to start building out a schedule.
Mhm. Is there a certain example of content marketing campaign that you could state, maybe something that worked or something that did not quite work?
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to give you, I think I've made more content marketing mistakes than successes. So I'm going to share a mistake. So, huge belief. So, in content marketing, you see Facebook, Google, and all of these other platforms. And the problem is that all of these platforms are, you're reliant on this one major organization. They make any changes and you're screwed. So, I'm talking about Google algorithmic updates, or Facebook audience reach is going down for your own pages, all of that stuff. So
Hmm.
through that, I got the realization that email is probably the best thing to invest in, because, it makes sense. There's not going to be any foreseeable change, at least in the next 20, 25 years. And you can directly reach to your customers. So with that thinking in line, I basically built this curated newsletter. It was like a weekly list of links for, specifically meant for like CEOs and leaders and all of that. And we built this newsletter. It was called 5 Minute Management, and it got featured on Product Hunt, and it had something like 1,500 subscribers. But like all of these
Wow.
folks were like super high leaders. Like I'm talking about directors of Harvard Business School and all of these people. So we used to have a weekly email that we used to send out in the hope that maybe someday we can add a sponsored listing and be like, hey, you should check out our product, all of that stuff. And this is back in the days when we were at Hub Stuff. And like, yeah, like, we did that. And whenever I started the sponsored listing on that newsletter, I think we didn't get a single customer. Forget single customer, no one even clicked on the ad, no matter what positioning we did there. So I guess it just made more sense at that moment that maybe this is not something that's worth investing in, because it took like 8-9 months to build that subscriber base. And then it required like 2 people working half their week on this newsletter. So it was a pretty costly mistake that we did.
Hmm.
The reason, like, we did a post-mortem, could be a lot of reasons. Maybe it was just not the right kind of audience, or maybe uh, we just weren't you know adding them in the right stage of the funnel. Like, so for example, these people might not ever be looking for time tracking or any of
Hmm.
those sorts.
Makes sense. So it was more like you couldn't quite provide the value that probably they were looking for, or vice versa, like.
Well, I mean, we provided value of what they were looking for 100%, because we used to get a lot of love, but we weren't able to attract the people that would have been in a stage where we could nurture them into a customer.
Got it. But when you said that you build such a huge customer base, subscriber list, that's actually one of the metrics that a lot of people, I've seen them measure. And okay, these are the number of subscribers we have, and for them, that's a success metric. So would you really call it a success metric, or would you just still include it in something that just happened?
I mean, this is not a success. I mean, so again, like, if for all answers in this universe, it depends, because um ideally everyone, when anyone is investing in content marketing, they're all looking at more customers, growth for the company, all of that. Now, customers could come in at different KPIs. So, for example, a direct KPI is that, all right, someone directly converted to a customer. In that case, it makes sense to track that as a KPI: number of trials started, a number of paying customers started from this content piece. Sometimes, for, let's say, businesses, an email list makes a bigger sense. Like, you look at AppSumo, they have like 1 million email subscribers. And for them, it makes
Mhm.
more sense to focus on that KPI, because they eventually sell to that email service. And then for some companies, like there's one company that I've been consulting for a couple of years, they work with, really big deals, like big enterprise deals. And I'm talking about with companies like Lyft, Uber, Airbnb, Warner Music Group, all of these folks. And when you're dealing with these customers, it requires a very long sales cycle. So in this case, the KPI for content marketing would be, you know, driving leads, and then the leads that sales team can then, start interacting with. So it completely
Mhm.
depends.
So there's like plenty of confusion still for somebody who's probably just getting started with content marketing. I often tell them that, the metric that you're measuring will vary as per the campaign. But they often come around and ask me that there would be certain numbers that everybody is practically measuring. Are there any such numbers that you suggest we should absolutely measure?
uh,
Something
I'd
which is a
like that.
constant.
Like there's no, I mean, like I said, the KPI that you need to be focusing on completely depends on the nature of the business. It starts with, like, I'd see three KPIs for anything. It's the first KPI that would be constant in anywhere would be the number of views on a blog post. But that's a vanity metric because, unless you're a B2C business that relies on advertising. But yeah, the blog, I mean, if you don't get the number of views on the post, how can you expect people to go to the deeper parts of the funnel? But beyond that, it's things like, what goal do we achieve from that? So is it, getting into an email list, getting the sales team, getting you to request a demo, or getting you into a trial? That depends on the nature of the business. So I honestly don't have a clear answer to this, and I don't think there is a clear answer to this.
I agree. I think it varies for everybody, and people who keep reading these articles on 10 metrics that you absolutely should be measuring, most of them actually include vanity metrics, like the
That
number
is
of
true.
views, number of shares, number of Facebook likes. I'm like, what is it that you're actually getting out of it? I mean, B2C, I can still understand. B2B, I'm like, did it really get you a demo sign up also? Not really,
That
right?
is,
So that like
yeah,
doesn't
that's
quite
true.
matter. Okay, so out of
Mhm.
all these myths, since I mentioned, top 10 metrics, like I have seen so many tips and so many hacks per se around content marketing being shared by, let's say, influencers. I wouldn't name
Mhm.
them, of course. Some
Mhm.
influencers, some very experienced marketers. What is the one thing that you've read or come across which you think is absolutely crap? I mean, it doesn't work. It's just something that people keep talking about, but it doesn't make sense.
I mean, there's a lot that we've read. To be honest, I'm like, I think the most common one that you see everywhere is that it used to be very common 4 years back that, you change the color of a button and then, whoa, it's gonna create like a double the amount of conversions, and you change an image and all of that stuff. Like, those are great stories. The real fact is that, it's a long testing procedure where you basically tested, like, to be honest, like, if I could give you a very honest answer in terms of A/B tests, I think I've done like over 100 A/B tests, and 99 of those would probably, did not work at all like the way I'd anticipated, including the ones that I read in these tactics. I changed the button color from blue to red, and it just, the traffic tanked. So yeah, I think that, I mean, just, I think, don't follow the myths, tips, tricks, or hacks or anything. Just build a system in your head to tackle the challenges in your own way. And it's like, just because some company had a viral campaign because of this one tactic doesn't mean that'll work for you. It depends based on what product you have, what audience you have, what kind of business industry are you in, all of those things.
Out of curiosity, what's your opinion on those articles which say from 0 to 1 million views or 0 to 10,000 subscribers in less than 30 days?
I mean, like, so again, like, these are great. I read these not very often, but I read these just to be aware about market trends. I'm not reading these to replicate the exact same thing. For me, it's like, all right, this guy did this. Maybe somewhere I read something like, oh, I tried this LinkedIn video and it just worked like wonders for me. Now, the channel is more interesting to me than the result. So maybe that channel thing can be replicated in your own way. So I feel when you look at these articles, you should don't spend your entire day reading those, but maybe like an hour a month, if you come across these, just scan through them, get like the idea of what the entire industry is trying, and then keep that in your list of things, like, all right, how can we use it in our own way, or does it make sense for our business?
Although you've already kind of answered my next question, but I'm still going to ask. What is the one tip that you would give to somebody who's probably struggling with content marketing or starting out with it?
Yeah, I think for them, I would rather say, I mean, again, just go read all of these articles just to understand how these people work. You need to focus on how they're tackling these challenges versus like what they exactly did. So, but in general, if for anyone who's just getting started with content marketing, I would rather just focus on becoming a great storyteller, experiment with tactics like I've till date, I think in the first 6 months as a content marketer, I tried like over 200 tactics, very different things, some absolutely shady that I'd be embarrassed to admit here. But I've done all of that. So, and again, like, this is probably something that worked for me but wouldn't work for you. So just experiment, be a great storyteller, be consistent, driving value. If you need any book recommendations on becoming a great storyteller, all of that, just ping me. I'd be happy to share some books on that.
Oh, you will have to give us a few books and a couple of suggested reads before you leave today.
Okay,
So that's
perfect.
definitely there. There's a
Mhm.
lot of technology also out there, which talks about making content marketing more efficient. There was one article that I came across a while back, which was around AI helping you write better articles or articles in
Oh
a
my God.
quick turnaround time, like. And I'm just going through it,
Yeah.
and I was having this conversation with a startup founder. So I told him that, we when we write, we contemplate so much around, oh, is the customer really going to understand this? Would he like
Right.
this graphic? Would he not like this graphic? So I'm like, what happens when a bot writes it? Right? Is it really going to be efficient? Or is it like, absolutely bullshit because it's not going to work? Is there any such technology that you've heard of or maybe tried using?
Yeah. I mean, so I just, yeah, I mean, like all of those automation, like all of these AI bots and all of that, those are like, they're not gonna work. I'm pretty sure about that. It's not like I don't know, I think you're maybe talking about the same service, but I think I read about that. Like they write an article for you for like $1 or something. That's just it
Yes,
was
yes.
yeah, it was just yeah, that's not gonna work. And I know someone who's also building another tool which is kind of in the similar space, using all of that for all those SEO crappy articles. That's not like it, although I'm pretty sure it's not going to get you any small wins as well. But if it does, it's definitely not for the long term. 100% sure about that. Now, that sort of technology is like probably in the gray area. So I wouldn't like to talk about. What gets me excited, what I use a lot, is automation. So a huge fan of Zapier. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but yeah, and I use that a lot to kind of automate lots of different things. So someone subscribes, they moved on to this course. Once they click on this, they move on to another course. It just allows you to do things in such a cool way that you're just sitting somewhere and things are just happening without you getting involved. And with Zapier, it's just like in earlier when you used to have to all develop these automation things, you'd have to hire a developer and that cost a lot. But with Zapier, it's like super simple, as Zapier or any other automation tool, to be honest.
Yeah, it's like one thing which serves all purposes. The rest of them is one individual thing, one task for each tool kinds. I've used Zapier
Right.
too, and honestly, I feel that it's more efficient. But I do see that a lot of teams find it a little difficult to implement on their own, for instance. If I step in and I explain it, they're okay. But if I step out and I say, why don't you use this for your sales funnel too? They're like, okay, no, Vani, we are not doing that because we don't quite understand how this works. So I'm like, okay, then we are probably going to go the manual way. And you know what? In
Right.
the end, I think most of the campaigns that I've been a part of, are only 50% automated, 50% manual, because people are so skeptical using technology that they're like, what if we lose data? What if this
Yeah.
doesn't go out at the right time? Although there's so many studies out there which do suggest, automation is the way to go, but yeah, I do see that struggle everywhere practically.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's just it often happens, even with emails and everything. I still see people when they're cold emailing, they're just like, if you're part of any of these content marketing Facebook groups or Reddit, you'd see folks who are every day posting, "Hey, I found another way to kind of, manually take out leads from LinkedIn groups and this, that, all of that stuff." Like, it's just, yeah, I mean, with automation, with all of these, you can use web scraping tools these days and all that. Although I don't particularly agree with that kind of philosophy, but yeah, it's just, I 100% agree though that 50%, a lot of people are just still stuck with manual stuff. I guess it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, I guess so too. So there's a lot of content out there, and you mentioned that content marketing requires consistency, right? So moving on to inspiration, right? Where do you find so much inspiration for your content?
Okay, that is interesting. So there is you have a lot of people in your head that also that give you that market insight in a particular aspect of content marketing. So so for content promotion, anything related with content promotion, my go-to guy is this guy called Benji Hayam. Like he's just like, he talks about different things of content promotion and all of that. For SEO, you go through that Rand Fishkin's Whiteboard Fridays, and now not anymore with Rand Fishkin, but still I still like those Whiteboard Fridays. So those are good sources to just understand how people are using that. You can obviously find your own way. The best technique or tip that I would give is just, if you want to level up on your content marketing, just follow someone who's already doing that for a company that's done it well. Like, so if there's, I don't know, if you like the content marketing of Buffer, just go and follow the Buffer director of marketing or director of content marketing and see what those guys are shipping out, and all of, how they think about things, how they share their thoughts, and then maybe that kind of thing would replicate to you. In terms of books, I've read a lot of different books that have been recommended by mentors, or the bosses that I had, or have. So one of the books that I really liked in terms of crafting really good headlines and crafting copy that converts, is this book called Tested Advertising Methods by John Caples.
Mm-hmm.
Huge, great book. Unfortunately, I think it's not on Kindle, so it's just available on print. But it's a really good book that I'd recommend. It's also got a forward by the Ogilvy founders. So yeah, that's pretty
Oh,
good.
nice.
Yeah, and the other ones that I can think about, like, there's just, you read a lot on the blog. So I think Conversion Excel was a great place to start related to CRO related stuff, on the content marketing side. And yeah, I like the Ahrefs blog. That's great if you want to understand how to craft long tail SEO strategies. And um, this guy called, what's his name, I forgot. The guy who's got this company called Reforge, Brian Balfour is a
Mm-hmm.
great, like, he's a great person to follow, just because he's not talking about tactics or anything. He's talking about mental models and systems that you can understand. So just to give you an example, one thing that I picked up from one of his articles or posts or somewhere on Twitter or something was, how he goes forward in with segmenting the content based on the funnel. So, like going from being product unaware to you start with problem unaware, problem aware, uh, solution aware, product aware. And that was such a nice way to kind of, um, like kind of, ideate on the content. And those are just some of the many things that brand band for allows you to think in terms of a systems approach.
I'm going to follow him because of late I've been trying to read more and more about consumer psychology and trying to map that with content marketing. Because the more conversations that I have while giving even demos for that matter, the conversations are very different from person to person. They have
Right.
very different concerns. And while we think that they are at, say, stage two in the funnel, they're actually sometimes between stage two, stage three, and you never know where exactly would they really step back or move forward.
Right,
So
that's
I
true.
think I'm definitely going to be taking your recommendations here. Okay, so wrapping up now, is there absolutely anything else that you would like to share with us? Something secretive that you probably guys are working at a close.io?
Yeah, so I mean, at Close.io, there's lots of things happening. So that's there. On the personal front, I've kind of earlier this year, I took up this mission that I'm going to make all co-located marketing teams location independent, and there were multiple reasons behind that. But if you'd like
Mm-hmm.
to, follow that story, you can just go to remotemarketing.org and see everything that I'm doing to fulfill that mission over the long term.
I did stalk you a bit, but I'm going to also add that link in the podcast transcript so that everybody can see it too.
Perfect. Sounds good.